Now, I'm not one to gossip, but I will bring you the tea. Welcome to Chronicle Speaks.
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh? Yes.
Look at you.
Now, there's been a lot of buzz surrounding the beloved TV host Wendy Williams lately, especially as she's been making her rounds doing interviews. Now, a recent article has shed some light on Wendy's current situation, revealing that she is now residing on the 5th floor of her assisted living facility, which is known as the Memory Unit. Now, when Wendy first entered this facility 8 months ago, she was placed on the 3rd floor, which gave her the freedom to roam, leaving her room whenever she pleased. However, things took a turn for the worse when Wendy allegedly made her way up to the top floor where there was a restaurant. While at this restaurant, Wendy reportedly was served alcohol and became quite intoxicated. Now, upon learning of this behavior, the facility decided to move Wendy to a more secure memory unit, which is designed for patients with dementia and other cognitive impairments. Now, this unit is much more restrictive. Patients there are not allowed to use the elevator without a special key, which limits their movement and provides a greater level of supervision. Now, the biggest question for me is why would an assisted living facility, especially one that houses such a vulnerable population, have a restaurant that serves alcohol in the first place? We're going to get into that in a second, but first I want to speak to you about Sabrina Morrissey, who happens to be Wendy's guardian. Now, she still suggests that Wendy is dealing with frontaltemporal dementia and aphasia, but now she's also claiming that Wendy has anosognosia. And simply put, anosognosia is a condition where individuals are unable to recognize or perceive their own cognitive impairments. Now, according to Sabrina, it could take several months for doctors to complete a full reevaluation of Wendy's health, but in the meantime, Sabrina has decided to put the lawsuit against Lifetime on hold as she awaits the results of Wendy's new medical evaluation. However, she remains confident that the diagnosis will not change. We have so much to get into regarding Wendy Williams, but before we do, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any news regarding this story and so much more. Now let's get back into it. Now, an employee at the facility currently housing Wendy Williams has recently stated that Wendy's memory is actually just fine. According to this employee, you can tell Wendy something one day and 2 weeks later, she will remember it exactly as it was told to her. Now, this revelation raises more questions about Wendy's health, especially considering her diagnosis of frontaltemporal dementia and aphasia. Now, this news is puzzling because when listening to Wendy's most recent interviews, she seems to sound like the same Wendy we've known for years, sharp, articulate, and familiar as ever. Now, this stands in contrast to what we would typically expect from a diagnosis of frontaltemporal dementia, which is a debilitating disease with no cure, which typically causes a steady decline in a person's language, behavior, decision-making, and cognitive abilities, including memory and speech. And also, given the fact that Wendy was diagnosed with this condition in May of 2023, allegedly, her symptoms would logically be expected to worsen over time, not improve. Now, this presents a perplexing situation, leaving many to question whether the initial diagnosis was correct or if Wendy's health may be more complicated than initially thought. Now, according to an employee at the facility where Wendy is currently housed, this employee is described as having many interactions with Wendy since her arrival, and she initially was given a room on the building's 3rd floor where residents are allowed to come and go as they please. And I believe Wendy stated that the gym was actually on the 3rd floor as well, and she has not been allowed to go to the gym. Now, things went south early on in Wendy's tenure when she went up to the restaurant and bar, which were located on the facility's top floor, for an extended lunch. Now, according to the employee, Wendy ordered several alcoholic drinks and was noticeably drunk for a significant amount of time. Now, the facility's supervisors allegedly learned of the drunken escapades and were upset that she was served, as she has reportedly had issues with problems drinking in the past. Now, in response to this drunken lunch, Wendy was allegedly relocated to a new room on the memory unit on the facility's 5th floor. Now, because many of the occupants there suffer with dementia and other memory issues, they aren't able to use the elevators on their own. Now, the new location meant Wendy was prohibited from going up to the restaurant and drinking, though it's unclear if she is not supposed to leave the floor at all or if she can venture out with someone supervising. However, there was a hiccup with the reassignment as the memory unit didn't have any open rooms, so Wendy was allegedly forced to stay in her 3rd floor room while employees guarded the door and prevented her from leaving. Now, according to the insider, employees at the facility lied to the talk show host and told her that the restaurant was closed for renovations, despite it apparently being open the entire time. Now, after a few days, a room reportedly opened up and she was able to be moved to the 5th floor, where she has remained ever since. Now, the confinement and the alleged falsehoods fed to Wendy are concerning, as the employee claims that her memory is not suffering. Wendy doesn't have good and bad days. She's the same all the time. You can tell her something today and 2 weeks later she'll remember it. Her memory is fine. Now, if you may recall in the Where is Wendy Williams documentary, Wendy's son Kevin Jr. stated that his mother was previously diagnosed with alcohol-related dementia. Now, this type of dementia has symptoms like problems with staying focused, problems with planning or organizing, erratic behavior at times, understanding how other people are thinking or feeling about your behavior, things like that, things that we've all seen Wendy go through. So in my honest opinion, it's not hard to understand how someone who has openly admitted to struggling with alcohol might find their way to the top floor of an assisted living facility, especially when they are confined to a place where they're away from their family and friends with no access to the internet or their phone. In this situation, it would be easy to understand how Wendy or anyone in her position might slip away to have a drink or two, or perhaps more, at this facility's restaurant. However, I said it before and I'll say it again, the bigger question is, why was there a restaurant on the top floor in the first place that served liquor? It raises a lot of red flags, especially considering that most of the residents are elderly individuals dealing with serious, often debilitating health conditions. Most of them are in the facility awaiting the inevitable, and yet there's an alcohol serving establishment right within reach. So if Sabrina is the one responsible for making decisions on Wendy's behalf and ultimately had to approve Wendy's move to this assisted living facility, then a critical question arises. Why would she choose a facility that has a restaurant serving alcohol accessible to its residents, given Wendy's struggle with alcohol in the past? I feel like she set Wendy up, and if she didn't, you're not making good decisions on Wendy's behalf. For one, you allowed her to be in the Lifetime documentary where it showed her in such a bad light, and now you're blaming Lifetime. And now with this assisted living facility giving Wendy alcohol because of your choices for her, she's now stuck in a room where she cannot leave the floor without a key, being treated as a prisoner until she's able to go out to dental appointments or to see the family whenever you choose for her to do so. I believe that it has been shown time and time again that Sabrina is not fit to be a guardian for Wendy Williams. Now, in a letter dated February 5th, 2025, Roberta A. Kaplan, who is an attorney for Sabrina E. Morrissey, addressed recent public statements made by Wendy Williams regarding not only her mental health, but the ongoing legal proceedings concerning the A&E program, Where is Wendy Williams? Now, in this letter, they briefly addressed Wendy Williams' first interview with the Breakfast Club, stating that Wendy Williams stated this morning that our firm's legal fees are somehow depleting her estate. That is manifestly incorrect. Not only will the guardian not receive any financial benefit from the A&E matter, but our firm has not received a penny and will not receive any compensation unless and until we succeed in obtaining a recovery for Wendy Williams Hunter. I highly doubt that they would be going this hard, taking up so much time fighting back and forth with the A&E and Lifetime if they were not receiving some type of compensation from Wendy Williams' estate. Now, although it's being alleged that she was diagnosed with a debilitating disease, Wendy seems to be getting better, not worse. Now, the evidence that they state they have is, among other things, a formal diagnosis by doctors at Weill Cornell Medical Center that Wendy Williams suffers from frontaltemporal dementia and primary progressive aphasia. Now, the second piece of evidence that they have is from Justice Sokolov's judicial findings that Wendy Williams Hunter is legally incapacitated.
This is what the judge said when the judge made this guardianship indefinite. Wendy is suffering from aphasia, which is the inability to understand and express yourself. And the proof of that, the judge said, is that in court, she couldn't find the right words to express herself, adding that she was reduced to saying, "You know what I mean?" every time she couldn't find the right words. The judge seemed to latch on to Wendy Williams saying, "You know what I mean," as evidence of aphasia.
Now, we've spoken about this before, but just in case you didn't know, in January 2024, WABC reported that a Manhattan family court judge by the name of Judge Lisa Sokoloff had received $5,720 in campaign donations between 2019 and 2022 from attorneys and law firms involved in guardianship cases, and during that period, she granted 62 guardianship appointments, raising concerns about potential conflicts of interest. Now, although it's stated that Sabrina and her law firm did not give to Lisa Sokoloff's campaign, Lisa seems very adamant in keeping Sabrina as Wendy Williams' guardian, although Sabrina has made some very unsavory decisions regarding Wendy that could have led to a very detrimental outcome. Now, in New York guardianships, they're monitored by the court as long as they exist. Now, the guardian must visit the ward at least 4 times a year. The guardian must ensure the ward's safety and needs are met. The guardian must manage the ward's finances prudently, and the guardian must make decisions for the ward as if the ward were making those decisions for themselves. And it's also good to note that Judge Sokoloff is the same judge that threatened to arrest Lil Kev if he did not bring Wendy Williams back from Florida to New York so Sabrina could look after her, even though she wasn't really looking after her anyway, because Wendy was out there drinking and doing everything that Lil Kev was trying to stop her from. But now we don't know what's going on with Wendy. Wendy's locked up. We don't know who's all dipping their hands in the cookie jar. We don't know how much money is left. Under the watchful eye of the guardian, Wendy was still able to get drunk. It doesn't seem like this situation has really helped her. I'm very hopeful that this new evaluation will show that Wendy does not have frontotemporal dementia and aphasia, and hopefully we can get Sabrina out the picture. What I need to do is hear from you. What do you think about everything going on in the world of Wendy Williams? Leave a comment and you know how we do. We'll talk about it down below. Talk to you guys later. Bye. As always, thanks for watching. But before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any of my new episodes.